Welcome back to Lost Legacies.
A Hidden City Book Company production.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
Well, another week, another Arcane.
Another dollar.
There you go. Yeah, again, we just recorded the other one a couple days ago. Not much has happened since, other than the world's on fire. But I did actually, the other night, we were playing Fortnite online, and I felt like my anxiety growing. I was like, oh man, what's going on? Like, we're playing Fortnite, but I'm thinking about, the outside world at the same time, and I was like, oh damn. So like, as soon as we got off, I just went to the front room and turned on TV, started, scrolling, and I got to PBS, and I saw this really cool documentary called, oh God, Finding Her Beat. I believe that's what it's called. And essentially it's this group called Heartbeat, I believe. Okay. And essentially what it is 18 women, I believe it's pronounced taiko drummers.
Okay.
And
what's that?
Oh man, they're like those big, like, kind of Japanese drums. You would recognize them if you see them, and they have some that are on the ground and some that stand, and we don't have video on this, so Sam can see it, but our listeners can't. It's the one where they have to raise their arms really high and to beat them. So 18 of these drummers, these women drummers, came together to do basically like the first women taiko drummers like concert. And it just so happened to be early 2020. So it's like, oh God, are they going to get to do it or not? And you get to see like a bunch of their stories and how there's some new younger women who are still kind of new to it. And then there's older ones who were some of the first women taiko drummers, because it was primarily men, those were the rules. And it was really fascinating, man, just seeing like all the drama was essentially in the rehearsals. Can we do this? They rehearsed for like 2 weeks straight, like 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. And it's like, and these women are of all ages, of all backgrounds, of all varieties of health. So it's like, can our bodies physically take this? And then COVID reaches America, and like they start worrying, like, okay, do I have the flu or is it COVID? And it's just, it was wild, man. And in a way, it kind of reminded me of theater, because that theater could be just relentless, as far as the schedules go, and having to go nonstop. And depending on what theater, what show you're doing, it might not be as physical as drumming, but man, I definitely know that feeling of just trying to find a corner to sleep for as much as you can between shows,
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just really cool. It's called Finding Her Beat. I highly recommend it. I think it's on Amazon Prime, but you have to pay for it. I was lucky enough to see it on PBS for free.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Public Broadcasting Station. Is what it stands for. So, but other than that, I know, we're not really talking too much of the outside world right now, outside of Arcane, just because we're pumping these episodes out so quickly. So I just wanted to drop that in.
Yeah. Well, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of that, please go check it out.
Yeah. It's pretty rad. But other than that, everything's kind of been the same here, Sam. What about you?
I mean, yeah, pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Trucking along.
But what wasn't the same was this episode of Arcane. We're talking about Arcane Season 2, Episode 3. Finally got the name right. Yep. She finally called her Jinx. Damn, dude. It's so good. It's so heartbreaking to watch this episode, I don't know. Like, what were your thoughts? First thoughts while you were watching it?
This was a long time coming. This was so emotionally charged. It was frantic. It was messy. It was everything a fight between siblings should be.
Yeah.
You know, they were not, with the exception of the end, they were not pulling their punches.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
They fought
um,
last season, but they were pulling punches last season, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
And then everything else with the episode was also just like it. Like this episode does one of my favorite things when I'm watching a show like Arcane or something that just has like an immense like world to just dive into and just to just be in.
mhm.
Um, and it's that it introduces something new and crazy, but also really cool every single scene.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Every single scene,
Absolutely.
whether it's a set, whether it's a character, whether it's a like, oh hey, like there's this thing that can, you know, make weird body tattoos, you know, on your, you know, body tattoo, weird tattoos, you know, but it's full of shimmer, you know, anything
Hmm.
like that. I'm just like, yeah, this show's just so cool. This
Yeah.
show is cool as hell.
Yeah. I was wondering about that. I'm like, do you think it's just like to help with the pain, or is it more like a drug? Like what was that thing doing? You know, like what was its purpose?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I'm sure it's kind of like a both, you know.
yeah.
It's yeah, like helping with the pain and
Yeah.
you know.
And as soon as this episode started off, turns out we were both wrong about Caitlyn's legacy.
Hmm.
We are both kind of right, but both wrong at the same time. Yeah, we found out like just the role and the mom knew, and like basically they created that filtration system to bring air to the underground to Zon, you know, and
Hmm.
Shiva says everyone deserves to breathe, and Caitlyn just does the opposite. I was like,
Yep.
oh my god,
Yep.
man, she's going down a dark road this episode. Well, I mean, this whole time she has been this whole season, but
Yeah.
this is where she fully stepped over.
What can I say? Cop's gonna cop.
Right? It's like it's crazy, man. Because I kind of don't like. I feel like that's a very simplistic way of saying it, you know, especially simply because we have Vi with them, you know, like they are victims as well, and that's what complicates things, you know, and it's I think what this show does is it kind of gives us the fantasy of where we can actually take a look at both sides. We don't actually get that in real life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, for sure, Caitlyn, she crossed the line. But you see, and here's the thing: when you talk about cops being cops, like it's one of those things where I feel like by the end of this episode, I would agree with you. I was like, oh yeah, like she's totally bought in. Like this whole time she's been fighting it, and that was kind of like the setup for I love that whole scene where she's talking to Vi and she's like, I'm not gonna change and you know, I need you. And I'm like, oh, perfect. This is perfect. But no, man, it didn't happen, you know? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh crap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, but that's the thing, dude. Like, her mom's entire legacy is this air filtration system, this
Yeah.
system that is built to help these people.
Yeah.
And Caitlyn is just twisting it, you know,
Hmm.
because this is now a weapon. This is a means to an end, you
Right.
know. Like we have the capability to hit them at their hardest, hit them at their weakest. We have the advantage, you know, all that stuff. And you know, it's just like Jinx is telling, you know, her own sister, you know, I never thought you'd turn blue belly. Never thought that you'd turn your
Yeah.
back on your own people.
Yeah.
That's like, yeah, true. We can, it's not even an argument. Yes, we can admit that, you know, both Caitlyn and Vi are victims.
Hmm.
They're still using tools to oppress a people.
Yeah, I
And
see what you're saying.
that's
Yeah,
like, no, it's cop behavior. Like, at least
yeah,
for the entirety of this episode, until like the very end, buys a cop. Buys a
yeah.
cop, and
I see what you're saying.
she's
Yeah,
taking it out on her own people, and
yeah.
Caitlyn's already at a point, and especially like at a point to like is at a point of like dehumanizing everybody in the
Mm,
Undercity.
hmm.
And yeah, by the end of the episode, she's just like, yeah, no, like
Yeah.
martial law is the way to go,
And
baby. And it's like,
that
okay, yeah,
those seeds
great.
were already back in season one as
Oh
well,
yeah,
and I'm not
yeah.
season one, episode one, when she has that talk with Jace, and it's
Hmm.
like, yeah, man, it's like I'm trying to figure out how to describe this. Like she is just so driven by her pain, you know,
Hmm.
and because she's in a position of power and authority, she's using that like as I guess as kind of a justification for it, you
Oh
know?
yeah,
And it's like,
100%.
oh, damn it. Um, yeah, man, it's just, oh, dude. I
It's
like
heartbreaking.
how,
It's heartbreaking to watch.
yeah, I like how at the end, what's her name? Nolan, she's like all bought in as well, but then the big guy isn't. Like he straight up leaves. I was
Yeah.
like, nice. I'm like, okay.
Hmm.
I'm interested to see where that's gonna go.
Hmm.
But
And also, like, I'm sorry, but like, I can't help but see like the correlations between reality,
uh-huh.
within this episode, especially at the end where you have all the Noxus soldiers doing the cool chest pounding, and all the Piltover, cops just like kind of looking around and like kind of starting to beat their chest, like,
Yeah,
oh, cool, great, we're now militarizing the police force, and
right.
we're now just gonna say like, oh yeah, by the way, all these cops, sure, let's just give them military gear, even though
Yeah.
they're not trained, even though they don't know how to properly use it.
Hmm.
Sure, let's just go ahead and militarize the entire precinct, the entire
Yeah.
force. Like, great, that's gonna go over super well, guys.
Yeah. It's gonna be really interesting to see where that goes, especially because our predictions were this is where we're going to get the time jump.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about Noxus, man. Very interesting opening.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow, that's a cool little just random tidbit of like backstory for the general, and but it all kind of comes into play because towards the end of the episode, Mel's captured. And I guess
Mm-hmm.
her assistant's killed. It looked pretty bad. Like her head was. Oh, that's right. Her head like straight up spins around, right?
Well, it doesn't go full 180, but like her head is turning against her will.
Yeah, I was like, oh
Uh,
god, oh
yeah, and there's freaking black roses like spewing out of her face. So,
yeah, oh
um,
dude,
like,
what
what
is
is
that?
that? What
Who
like
are these people?
black roses? Like, what? Who the hell are you? Phantom of the Opera?
Yeah, this is giving
Space
me some
Phantom of
kind
the
of like
Opera?
some kind of like arcane, like almost like a witch type thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I
A
don't know.
space witch, I guess, because all the stuff has, it looks like constellations. Like anytime
Well,
the like vines and stuff are growing out, and it's like it's all cosmic. You can
that's
see
true. There's
universe
like
in
a
it.
cosmic horror element to it, but
Hmm.
the arcane that saved Jace and his mom also had stars. And I'm like, I kind of
Oh,
just feel
that's
like that's
true.
just magic in general, you
Yeah,
know?
could be. Yeah.
Which we're gonna talk about that later.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Phantom of the Opera, coming to Bernie, I believe there's a show. It's like four actors who have played the Phantom on stage are doing a show together. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
cool.
cool. I
Wait,
don't,
coming like to Bernie, Texas?
yeah. I was like,
Oh,
wow. Now,
wow.
who's gonna play Christine? Alas,
They all will.
Samael, is this my chance to shine?
Yep. Do it. You make it great, Christine.
What's her? What I don't know. What's her line? What's the famous Phantom of the Opera line from Christine?
I mean, they're all sung, so you're gonna have to sing.
Crap. Okay.
Yep.
Well. Anyway, speaking of opera and backstage, I love that like cat lady person we met.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's interesting. Cool, cool, cool. Okay.
What was her name? Nest?
I don't remember.
something. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just something really short. But yeah, she seems cool, and she was giving Mel, like the dirt on Sallow, and
Yeah.
you know,
I kind of like the misdirect, that we really thought the general and him were teaming up. And I was like, really? They can put this guy in charge? But
yeah,
it it was a cool twist, but as soon as the general started talking, I was like, oh, she's talking about Caitlyn.
mm-hmm,
I'm like, oh, this is cool. I was like, all right.
mm-hmm,
So not only does it enhance the level of the plot in the story because we've been with Caitlyn this whole time, where she's one of our characters,
mm-hmm,
but it also just elevates the status of the general as like a force, possibly even an antagonist. Like,
mm-hmm.
of course she wouldn't team up with that other guy because he's just this swarmy, sniveling kind of backstabbing politician.
Yeah,
And it's like the general, like she's no fool. She knows how to play politics, and that's what she does.
mm-hmm.
But she puts her. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what's the saying. I don't know. She puts her rocks in Caitlyn's basket.
Puts her eggs in Caitlin's basket.
Sure, that wasn't what I was thinking of. I think I was confusing with something else. She throws her eggs at Caitlyn, and I'm like,
Nope.
that makes a lot more sense. And
Mm-hmm,
it goes back to the look she gives Caitlyn back in the first episode when she starts laying out her plan. I was like,
mm-hmm,
oh, okay, we saw some respect from her, and I was like, oh, what we really saw was a plan starting to form.
mm-hmm,
Like, oh
mm-hmm.
man,
Finding out who is more pliable, and finding who
yeah,
is going to be the actual person to get you the thing that you want.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Sallow's a means to an end, but yeah, Caitlyn is the one that she's riding on. It's like, yeah, and it works perfectly because her mom just died,
yeah.
and she can tell that Caitlyn's pissed and wants revenge.
And Nox
There
has
you
set
go.
it up. It was a
Yep.
setup. They're the
Yep.
ones who sent the. I don't even know what group they were. Like, there's so many different groups in the Undercity,
Yeah, it
but
one
they're the
of
one
one
who
of the
sends them to attack in the first episode.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's one of the
oh,
Chem Barons or something. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm like,
Also,
oh
quick
crap.
side note: the Catwoman is named Lest.
Lest,
Hmm.
lest I forget. Again, I love how we're starting off with like these music video montages, essentially.
Hmm.
It's just it's so cool. I got
Yeah,
nothing but praise for this show.
I'll say this is this is what was the number that we saw in the article that Variety put out, like, oh, like this is how much money this show cost, and it's the most expensive
I think it was
like animated show.
250 million.
This is $250 million well spent. You
Yes, it
know?
is. But also, like, how did they write this, man? I got to go back and watch. I believe it was called "Touching the Rift." It was the
Hmm.
behind the scenes of season one. I hope they do behind the scenes of season two
Hmm.
because it's like $250 million is great, but how do you write this? That'll afford you to get some good writers,
Yeah.
and that'll afford you to be able to take your time writing it. But
Hmm.
like when it comes to the writing, there's certain things that like money won't touch.
Hmm.
So I'm like, how the hell did they come up with this and just make it so good?
Hmm.
Oh man, I don't know, dude.
I don't know. These guys are on another level.
Yeah, I loved it. I love the fight scene that they had. Vi versus Jinx, Caitlyn
Hmm.
versus what was her name again?
Sovika.
Savika. And then the little damn kid shows up with the gun. I'm like, oh, jeez. And then Caitlyn's gonna shoot her. It's like, no,
Hmm.
God. Gut wrenching, man.
Gut wrenching. Heartbreaking.
So
Heart racing.
yeah, but then the fact that
Oh.
Jinx was able to use the air filtration system backwards
Hmm.
on the city, I'm like, damn, she's so smart, dude.
She's so smart. She's so good.
Yeah.
She's like she's a criminal mastermind, and she had no intention of ever becoming one, you know?
Yeah, it's really interesting because she even that wasn't her plan. You know, it was kind of like a last ditch effort because she was gonna get killed by Caitlyn.
Hmm.
And she was like, "No, don't." So it's gonna be interesting to see like why, like what was her plan, or did she know this would happen? Like it happened too soon, or what? You
Hmm.
know. But man, talk about just visually what an image, you know, because she uses like very bright, pretty colors, you know, blues, purples, and pinks and yellows, and like that's what's she's literally painting the town. It didn't seem
Hmm.
like anyone got killed. There are people who got hurt and they probably got sick. But I'm
Yeah.
like, but when you see it from Zahn's perspective and they're looking at Piltover, I'm like, and the kids like loving it, like, oh, I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
damn,
It
dude.
looks so cool. And you know, like it's this crazy thing. Like, yes, technically this is an attack, you know, this
Yeah,
is an act of terror, but it's nowhere near as volatile as what Caitlyn is doing, what Caitlyn and her
true,
task force have been doing to the Undercity, you
true.
know,
Yeah,
using that same, you know, filtration system to
yeah,
poison people, you know, and to hurt people.
yeah,
Um, and it's just that, like, hey, Jinx isn't gonna have any of that. So yeah, her show of force and getting the upper hand is more showy and more public,
yeah.
you know, but way less harmful.
Well, and
Well, way less harmful to bodily life, you know.
well, that's interesting because not in season one, you know,
Well, yeah, not in season one, but
like,
I'm saying in this instance.
yeah. So like, it's. I'm really curious, like where, like what is Jinx's plan? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
You know, because like we know she has no problem blowing people up, civilians or cops, you
Yeah.
know. So I was honestly surprised that this didn't kill a lot of people. I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Hmm.
But also, it happened too soon. So who knows?
Yeah.
But also, another thing is that Zahn is divided. Like everyone's, like as of last episode, everyone's still fighting each other. So we're not really sure where they're at here.
Hmm.
You know, once the enforcers start cracking down a little bit, at least Caitlyn's team. But then like that bookie guy was talking about Jinx, she's got plans and blah blah blah. So there's definitely talks of what she's doing, you know.
Hmm.
So like what's the plan going forward? Like Silco was someone who had such a like seemingly control over everything.
Yeah.
I'm really curious, like what Jinx is gonna do with that authority, and you know, does it change her being in charge of other people's safety? You know,
Yeah.
speaking of in charge of other people's safety,
Hmm.
Echo, Echo's with Heimerdinger and Jace this whole episode, and they're straight up studying the effects that the arcane stuff is doing to the tree. And
Hmm.
it's revealed that like whatever, I don't know what that thing is under the city, but it's like what powers the hex tech. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah.
And when they get down there, apparently it's become sentient.
What it looks like.
Oh, dude.
If I'm remembering this right, like the that is what powers the hex tech, but that's specifically what powers the like the ships, like the transportation that like shoots the ships
I
out
think
for
that's what they were
trade.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, and Jay said that this was a way to like offset, you know, whatever, like in case anything
Yeah.
happened, they didn't want it to affect the city.
Yeah.
And Echo is like, you didn't want it to affect Piltover. This is this is gonna affect us. Like
Yeah.
this is affecting us,
Yeah.
you know? Um
And Jace even says he's like, no, but we're miles away. He's like, yeah, but these are still the vents we use to breathe, and these
yeah.
tunnels deliver us our water. You know,
Hmm.
it's more of that ignorance, that only comes from not being a part of that undercity. So he just
Mm-hmm.
doesn't get it. It's like, oh man. So his eyes
Mm-hmm.
are kind of being opened again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then the thing just like turns on and things get crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even know how to describe it, man. Like, and they're
It,
gone. They vanish. It takes them.
yeah. So it feels like in a very strange way, I know, especially here on this podcast, we have had it about listeners, you can't see it, but we've had it up to here with the multiverse.
Oh
But what
yeah.
it seems like is that maybe not in like a literal sense,
Yeah.
but it seems like Jace touching this arcane core, whatever it is, kind of opens up like a multiverse like door or something. Like I don't know, it's just the way that like all three of them become like split,
Yeah.
and like and it's less so the fact it's less so like, oh, like they're split into like different versions of themselves. Like, no, it's just that like they're split in time and space, and it just feels, God, I can't, it's it's like somebody turned the kaleidoscope, and the
Yeah.
kaleidoscope affected their bodies,
Yeah.
and yeah, like I don't know, like it's beautiful, it's magical. I have no idea what happened.
Yeah.
I just know it's bad. you know
Yeah.
and what's really cool, I a thing that kind of got to me, but I can't deny how cool uh it made both scenes, is that whenever they touched the arcane, it would jump back to the underground fight, and we
Yeah.
would see like Vi's gauntlets and Caitlyn's gun overreacting, or like reacting to that touch.
It's weird because it's like, so it was the gun, basically anything that was hex tech. So
Mm-hmm.
Caitlyn's gun, Vi's gauntlets, Savitka's arm, like everything was changing, but also like shifting.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was both present and not present.
Mm-hmm.
It was really weird. And I'm like, oh
Well,
wow.
Savika's arm wasn't affected because that doesn't have arcane in it.
Well, it was okay. It wasn't until Caitlyn triggered it.
No, Caitlyn,
Oh,
what
she
like
like,
she didn't trigger the arm. Caitlyn would like had her like pinned on the ground, and like nudged her face while her gun with her rifle, while her rifle was
yeah, that's right.
going in and out of reality, and like kind of getting electric charged. And so
Yeah,
she kind of just like fried Savika with the arcane charge.
yeah,
Because I was even thinking about that too. I was like, when Jinx pulled out the shark bazooka, I was like, oh, is her stuff gonna get affected now? But it didn't, because she
yeah,
doesn't have any of it anymore.
yeah.
So that's the thing. Like yeah, like that.
So the arm isn't hex tech, but the
Yeah.
hex tech was everything that was freaking out.
Hmm.
Um, which that's fascinating too. That's a whole thing because that's like the one up that Piltover has.
Yeah.
Well, they already had like enforcers. They have the numbers and they have the power,
Hmm.
but the hex tech changes things. Or no hex tech or unreliable hex tech changes things because
Hmm.
now Zahn has chem tech.
Hmm.
So, and that's the last we see of those three. Like we don't know what happened. They just vanished.
Yeah.
Like, oh, geez. I'm just so curious. Like, what? Like, I'm. It's from like the world building perspective, which is crazy because we've been talking about the world building and how this whole show is in this one city and it's all very technology based, even the magic. And
Hmm.
now it's almost like being flipped. It's like, oh no, the magic is like overpowering the tech now. Now
Yeah.
we're getting into that more fantasy world that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Let's see what else happened this episode. I feel like it was just so much, but
Matthew, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the first time that Caitlyn and Vi have kissed?
I think so.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, I
because I
haven't.
feel like they would have shown that in the previously, you know, like I feel like it was
Oh
just
yeah,
like, you know,
yeah,
their relationship has just been so charged and they've never had a moment's peace,
yeah, dude.
just
Yeah,
been flirting back and forth. It's definitely like a enemies to lovers to enemies
yeah,
again.
yeah.
Um, you know, but they got to have one kiss, and
I
I
love
was
that
just
scene,
like,
dude. I
mm-hmm,
love that scene. You want to talk about sexy? You
mm-hmm,
know, Caitlyn's there, and then she kind of pulls back, and Vi just drops the gauntlets, doosh, doosh, and then she grabs her. I'm like,
mm-hmm.
oh,
Grabs her to hold her.
yes,
I was like,
yes.
yeah, that's hot.
Ugh.
That's hot. Yeah, yeah. But then it's all for naught because she won't let her girlfriend shoot her sister. You
Dude, I
know?
love that. And yeah, but it's also is that kid that was there, and I love that where Caitlyn tells Vi, she's like, "You stopped me,"
Mm-hmm.
and Vi says, "I shouldn't have had to.
Yeah,
She was a kid." I'm like, oh, she's like, I would have shot her. She probably would have, but like the fact that she's willing to risk it,
yeah.
she doesn't see this kid's life as I don't know what you want to say, call it as valuable or as
Mm-hmm. That kid's life is inconsequential against
to the me or
you.
to the results she
Yeah,
wants.
yeah,
Yeah. And would it have been different if it was a Piltover kid? You know?
yeah.
Like possibly. There's a good
Possibly.
chance.
Yeah.
I don't know. Damn. I want to know the big guy story.
The one on the enforcers?
Yeah,
There are multiple big guys in this show, Matt. You're gonna have to be specific.
that's true. Okay, I don't think we've got his name yet. The big enforcer
No.
guy
Yeah.
who apparently he was walking away. I was like, all right,
Hmm.
interesting.
I want to know what Ambessa's big guy's story is.
Right?
You
Oh,
know?
dude.
He looks like I'm listeners, I'm so bad at like pop culture stuff because I have so many like huge blind spots. He looks like that dude from Street Fighter.
Oh,
Like he's
yeah.
pretty big, usually
The big
shirtless.
Russian guy?
Yeah, yeah, like the big
Yeah.
Russian guy. That's what it reminds me of. I've just been calling him Colossus in my head because he also just kind of reminds me of Colossus from the X-Men, but without any of the armor. Um, but yeah, it was really cool because he's with Ambessa when she gets attacked by that guild merchant from the Black Rose,
Hmm.
and he like is able to like slam his spear onto the ground and it like dispels her witch magic. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's so freaking cool. Like this guy's kind of rad. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I want to see who's going to kill him.
Yeah, yeah,
You
me too.
know?
Me
Or at
too.
least or at least who's he gonna fight?
Yeah, who's gonna take him down? It'll be the enforcer big guy,
I want
the
to
ex
I want to
enforcer big
see
guy.
I want to see like Noxus like in a fight. Like I want to see the general fight, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, me too.
but I like what they were saying that like now she has nothing to lose because apparently after her son's death, she lost something or some kind of status. I was like, oh,
It's
interesting.
it's I'm gonna have to watch it again because this definitely felt kind of just thrown in here,
Uh-huh.
you know? Um, because like we've already know that Ambessa is ambitious and
Yeah.
has been looking for a reason to come to Piltover. The
S-
Hextech kind of unlocked that.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool. Like she definitely wants that for Noxus. It seems like.
Well, until
Um,
this episode.
well, until this episode.
Because now I'm like, wait, so is it for Noxus or is it just for her and her own?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
that's what that conversation between Mel and what was her name? Lest?
yeah.
That's kind of what they were implying that like she's kind of fallen from status in some way. So she doesn't
Hmm.
have they didn't say gold or riches, but like she doesn't have
Like her holdings.
her holdings.
She.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
"Oh,
So
interesting."
yeah, so whatever
So,
status she had over in
yeah.
Noxus, it seems like it's gone. And
So
so
is
this
this a
feels like the last ditch effort.
is it for her like a way back in,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
bring
could
Hextech?
be.
Or is she just doing her own thing? Is she, you know,
She's just gonna make Piltover her own, you know?
because like it was kind of implied that she was in charge back in the flashback in season 1, you
Yeah,
know? And I'm like, oh, like okay, interesting. So I don't know if it's like an imper situation or what.
yeah.
All right, man. I don't know what kind of predictions to make. Like, I like that. My prediction was correct that like Noxus was essentially going to step in as a martial law type situation,
Yeah.
um, and lead. I don't know, the raids against Zon. Like
Hmm.
now, I mean, Revolution. That's all I can predict at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it seems pretty apt, you know.
I'm not.
I think the revolution is going to be interesting in terms of like who is leading it and
Yeah,
why exactly they're leading it, and whose paths are going to cross because of that, because I definitely feel like, so an interesting thing about the opening, uh uh that is kind of growing on me. I still don't love it, but
you
it
talking about the
feels,
opening credits?
yeah, the opening credits.
Oh, okay.
Um because it feels it feels very like, oh, okay, like we're kind of touching on like the themes of what's happening here, or like the themes of what's
Yeah.
going on. And the two images that kind of stick out to me in it are, one, obviously Jinx holding that like giant banner and waving it around.
Yep.
Can't help but feel like that's a little reminiscent of, speaking of plays, Les Miserables.
Oh no.
So it's like, it
And we
feel, I
know
mean,
what
hey,
happens to them.
that's about revolution.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh amongst other things. But yeah, it's about revolution and leading the charge and bringing change. But then also Victor, he's wrapped in the like cloak or whatever, and he's holding up a mask, sort of looking Phantom of the Opera like,
Yeah.
but then by the end of it he puts it on, and we don't see what it's like, but inside of it, it has that like same like starlight and stuff, so it feels like that's the Arcane.
Yeah.
So I can't help but wonder, you know Jinx got her answer. She knows exactly what side of the line that Vi is on,
Yeah.
and that's where they end it, so I'm sure that's where she's going to be like going, in that headspace forward. uh and she was just talking to Savika about like, hey, we keep cleaning up Silco's messes, you know but we've got to do something.
Yeah.
And Victor is now in this space where he is healing people of their like shimmer addiction.
Yeah.
So
There's so many different forces at play down there.
yeah.
And then you have the people staying with Echo at the tree.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's gonna happen. Like,
Which I believe that like Bat dude that Echo was talking to, I believe that character was voiced by Robbie Damon.
really?
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Okay,
because I
okay.
because I saw it on I think Threads.
Uh-huh.
He had it posted. It was like, wow, like, so happy to be, part of the Arcane universe or something. And I was like, who's this guy? And then I saw the episode, like, oh, that's Robbie Damon. Cool.
Nice.
So yeah, he wasn't
Nice.
in this episode, but hopefully
Yeah.
he'll be in at least episode 4.
Completely forgot about this in all of season 2. But
Oh.
MVPs.
Oh man. It feels weird to just bring it up now.
Yeah, I mean it's such an ensemble piece, but I think dude, I mean Haley Steinfeld, like I I honestly think this is her best role. Like she's just digging down, man.
Yeah.
As far as acting, I did like her in Hawkeye. I wasn't a big fan of the Hawkeye show, but I loved her in Hawkeye. The way she could like be real, but then also like cute and quirky, Marvel quirky.
Hmm.
I loved it. But then to see her actually like acting, like, bringing it, like, oh,
Well,
dude.
we're not exactly seeing her acting, but
We don't
I get
have
what you're
to
saying.
because the performance is all there,
Yeah.
and it's like, of course, the animation goes a long way, but
Hmm.
you can't. The animation isn't going to save a crappy voiceover performance,
Right.
and she did amazing season one. I thought that was her best role, and now I'm like, I love where she's going with this. Like, she just brings Vi so much heart, and you can
Hmm.
hear her, you can hear it in her voice, and I'm like, and you hear it in the voice, but it's coming from the soul, Sam, the heart, You stopped me, like, I shouldn't have had to. And I'm like, you can hear that pain and the conflict that Vi is going through all through the voice performance. I'm like, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I'm
Everyone's
going.
been great, but I have to point out Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to mirror that exact same sentiment onto Ella Purnell.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Because yeah, it's just yeah, everything that you said, squared.
You know what,
She's
dude? I think this show has some good actors.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Jinx is just the way Ella Purnell's able to go uh, from like crazy to less crazy.
Hmm.
Just awesome. But still feel real.
Hmm.
Um,
There's just something in the way that she's able to portray hurt
yeah.
and anger while also having this sort of like fun vindictive streak in her.
Yep.
It's yeah, it's crazy. It's a masterclass is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. There's something just so kind of beautifully, tragically poetic about Jinx becoming the figurehead of this revolution.
Yeah.
I wish we had Vi and Jinx in the real world. Because, you know, we've talked about this on this podcast before. I have a few things I would like to blow up just for ratings, of course.
Just for ratings.
Yeah. Was that Arcane? I think we talked about that.
Probably.
Yeah, listeners, if you didn't listen to season one, I believe this was season one. But one thing we said we were really sick and tired of was all these podcasters saying, "Oh, follow us on social media, stick around because we're working on things. We're working on things." And it's like, we know what you're working on. It's just more podcasts.
Yeah.
And we said, and I saw the post online, like, I want one of these podcasters to come out and say, like, we're working on things. Yeah, we're gonna blow up Parliament. And that's what kind of started the whole thing. Of like, yeah,
Yeah.
be a
Do it.
real podcast.
Yeah.
Oh man, all for the likes. Well, thank you everyone for listening. We're doing pretty good this season of Arcane so far.
Hmm.
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, as of recording this, only the first episode has actually aired. Lost Legacy's episode has aired.
Oh,
Before
yeah,
being
yeah.
only one episode out, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
But man, oh man, if I thought our season one, episode 4, Get Jinxed episode was doing well before, it has just even multiplied even more. I don't know why. I don't know what's in the algorithm. I don't even know if it was a good episode or not. But everyone and their mom is listening to it. So let us know if there's anyone listening from Antarctica. Please let us know because the stats won't tell us. Since the next episode isn't out yet, I don't know what next week's episode is called. But next week we'll be talking about Arcane Season 2, Episode 4. I don't think it's out, Sam. It wasn't on Netflix. And I was like,
yeah,
oh.
I'm on IMDb right now because I was like, oh yeah, I need to look for names or something. And it's like, nope, it is still episode 2.4. So yeah, we'll be talking about episode 2.4 next time.
Yep, we think there's going to be a time jump. I hope we get to see Vi in the fighting pit with her black emo hair. Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Dude, those are my two things. Like I've always just I fall in love with like every redhead I meet and every like straight up black haired woman I meet.
Mm.
So I'm feeling kind of conflicted right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So also I think from the trailers, Vi's tattoo gets bigger, right? Or more intricate?
More intricate, I want to say.
Yeah, because we haven't really seen it this season because she's had her clothes on. But in the trailer, we see her in the fighting pit, and you see her back because we saw it a little bit in the season 1, and now it's like, oh, now we really see it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know, dude. That's a little hardcore for me, but like, I could see, but like, I've seen people get kind of like it's not really a cog, but it's kind of like the Arcane version of a cog that Vi has on her back. I've seen people just get that like on their arm, like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then I'm like, but I'd have to balance it with Jinx because I love both characters so much.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the Jinx one would be.
I don't know. I believe in you.
Yeah, listeners, send us your Arcane tattoo ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And or sketches. Yeah, I want to know. Everyone, thank you for joining us. Please leave us some loves with likes and subscribes and all that stuff. And most importantly, if you liked this episode, share it with a friend. Because as much as the likes and subscribes go, that helps a lot. But just sharing it with others really kind of just spreads us even faster. You know? Yeah. So just like
the gas that Caitlyn's using on the
but in a good way.
But in a good way. We're infecting you with joy and positivity.
I hope so. But yeah, you can find us just hashtag Lost Legacies. I'm on Instagram and Threads at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch and on BluSky at Matthew Jimenez.
And you can find me on Instagram, Threads, and BluSky at Real. That's REEL Texas Weirdo.
So until next time,
look out for yourself.